Today I'm going to talk a little bit about spices. So let's talk about some basic spices that are helpful to have in your kitchen. And these again are going to be for someone who's fairly new to cooking. Maybe you don't have a lot of spices in your house and you're wondering where to get started without going and buying everything out there and spending a ton of money. So let's kind of start from the basics. So I think the first place to start is having some olive oil and salt and pepper. Great place to start. You can season a lot of your food, specifically with the salt and pepper. But when I was thinking about where I use a lot of spices, I was thinking about roasting vegetables and things like that. And often I'm pairing olive oil with the salt and pepper. So I added that one in there today, even though it's not a spice. Okay, so salt and pepper. Again, there's options here. Buy the type that works for you. If you have a pepper grinder, grind it. If you just buy the already ground black pepper, perfectly fine too. There's probably salt experts out there which will tell you all about different types and flavors of salt. And if you want to look into that, go for it. Otherwise, just get a salt that you like. I tend to prefer kind of like a medium grind, so not super fine, but not super big. That seems to work pretty well. Sometimes I buy the pink Himalayan one because I think it's kind of pretty. Maybe the flavor's a little different. I'm really not sure. It works for me. But yeah, use the salt that works for you. All right, next up, garlic powder. Garlic powder is a great thing to have on hand. Any recipe that calls for garlic, it's often used. If you don't have fresh garlic, you can use garlic powder. So definitely keep that one around. Next one's onion powder. Same thing goes there. If a recipe calls for onion and you're not putting the fresh in, you can use onion powder. Or if just you want a little extra flavor, onion powder is a great one. So kind of two of the most commonly ones there. I definitely would start with those two. The next one is paprika. Again, if you're very, very new to this, I wouldn't say you have to go out and buy this, but I do find, especially when I'm roasting veggies and flavoring things, paprika is a nice thing to add in. It's fairly mild, but I don't know, a little seems to go a long way, and I seem to use it quite often. Next one on here is chili powder. If you like Mexican food, if you make chili, chili powder is a great option to have out there. Lots of flavor that you're going to get in a small little amount. Next one on the list is ground cumin. This is specifically, I use this a lot in taco seasoning. I tend to make my own when I have the time to do it. And cumin is one of the main ingredients. And so that's a good one to have on hand. All right, the next one is crushed red pepper. If you're someone who likes spice, having crushed red pepper around can be great. If you don't like spiciness at all, don't add this one to your list. But a little pinch goes a long way in a soup or a stew or something along those lines that you want a little bit of heat. All right, now we're going to move into our herbs. And so the ones that I tend to use most commonly, this is a huge container. This is an Italian seasoning. I'm probably not going to use it by the time it expires, but the fact that I've used half of it is pretty telling that this is a common one to use. So again, Italian food, Italian seasoning. If you like that type of food, it's an easy one to just add in. It's a blend, so you're going to get a nice balance of flavor there. The other one I use pretty often is thyme. And it's interesting because I don't like too much thyme. Too much can be overpowering, but a little goes a long way and it really adds nice flavor. Soups, again, I just made a corn chowder that had some thyme in it. It can be good in roasted veggies. So that's one to keep your eye out for. And then oregano. You can tell I'm almost out, but I use a lot of oregano, mainly because this goes in my taco seasoning. But again, if you like Mexican flavors, chilies, taco seasonings, oregano can be a nice option. Two that I didn't pull out, I have a lot more spices in my cupboard, but there's things that I use kind of here and there. And so if you gravitate toward one type of cuisine, if you like to cook Indian food or Asian food, you might explore what are the commonly used spices there. But these are places, again, to just get started. I didn't pull out my dried basil or dried parsley, even though those are very common herbs. I just tend not to use them dried quite as often. Some other people might. I guess just the recipes that I'm making, I'm not using them quite often. So I wouldn't have you go out and buy those unless you're finding that you're making recipes that are calling for them a lot. They can be delicious fresh in the summer. All right. Oh, last one I pulled out that I wanted to add in here, which I guess is kind of a spice, but it's really more of maybe a seasoning blend. It's called everything but the bagel seasoning. And so if you've ever had an everything bagel, you know kind of what that flavor profile is. So a little bit of salt, garlic, onion in there. My kids tend to like this on avocado toast, but it's really just a nice kind of kick of flavor. And so if you're looking for something like that, maybe you try that one. And I guess the last thing is there's a lot of different blends out there that are pre-blended that you could buy. If you are sensitive to salt, just be mindful to look at to see if they have added salt, maybe trying to find one without it so that you can control the amount of salt that goes in your recipe. All right, I'll also put a list of these in the description so you have those to note. And again, don't feel like you have to go kind of buy all 10 that I noted. If you're brand new and you don't have any spices, start with salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and go from there.